Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the business and the Sillyville edition. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to catch the show live and join us there, well, let's go ahead and dive right on in. Well, Apple as of now touts Passkey with a new privacy feature to kill the password. Great. Now it's happening because the brave Apple has created a tool to kill the password. So, yep, that's it. So the idea here is that they're working with FIDO, which is the same organization that does hardware keys. So it's basically like a de facto hardware type key, but it's tied within and stored within your Apple account. So Touch ID, Face ID technologies built in. Basically, it's a multi-biometric lock system that you can use. They are working to make sure that other people can use it off of Apple accounts as well. So it's not something that's explicitly tied to Apple. But, you know, if you're on your Apple computer there and some website wants a 2FA or something, you can use this as an option. And they're touting this as this is going to replace the passwords and all this kind of stuff because that's the direction they're trying to go in. I still say I don't trust Apple with your stuff, guys. Don't trust Apple. Get yourself a few UB keys. I keep a couple UB keys. I should get more of them. I would like to maybe get a third one, and then keep the other one completely offline on a safe. I keep, I keep one of them close and one of them locked up in a safe. So that's really the thing that you want to do is make sure that you're using some type of hardware key for 2FA or for external verification because that is a lot harder. Now they're saying here that there's basically works like this. It can't be hacked. It can't be breached. It can't be any of these types of things. The fact is though, is it is tied to an Apple ID account. So don't sit there and say this thing cannot be hacked. You're just inviting people to hack it. How long before we are going to have an article about Apple's hacked Passkey? Let me know in the comments how long that's going to take. Well, continuing on with Apple, we just have a bunch of Apple and Microsoft news today, by the way. In a new update, Apple is going to make USB-C accessories ask for your permissions in order to pass data. This is generally, I think, a good thing in a way. It might be better to have these types of approaches. Really, with Linux, you can set them to not mount or things like that. The idea here is that there are a lot of devices out there that are hacking devices and breaching devices, and some that will destroy your system when it's plugged in, stuff like that. Well, that's what this is seeking to remedy so that somebody can't come by your Apple and just plug something in and do something. You actually have to interact with it. So you'd have to confirm that you actually want this device to be enabled. This is a good thing. I think it'd be neat to see this applied multiple different places. It's just a way to add some extra layer of protection. Of course, some of the articles were taking this and sensational. Apple's blocking unapproved devices. Now, it just means that you need to actually click that you have actually plugged something in and know what you're doing, or at least pretend you know what you're doing. All right. And last Apple story here. Of course, we talked in the past about Apple Pay. So, of course, these buy now, pay later apps are showing up everywhere. Buy in 4 easy payments. I forget the name of these off the top, but there's several of them. And now, like every website under the sun is having these options up there on their website. Buy it now and pay in 4 equal installments with no interest or anything like that. Well, in order for Apple to pull this off, it turns out that they needed to create yet another subsidiary business called Apple Financing. It's not an independent company in and of itself. What it is it is it's a separate LLC, but it's overwritten by Goldman Sachs as the MasterCard provider. Yeah, Goldman Sachs is the same group that was managing the money for a pharmaceutical company who had a rarity in the medical field, and that is a cure for hepatitis C. And Goldman Sachs advised them to bury the medication because it's hurting their bottom line. They're making more money on the treatments. If you think that's all conspiracy theory, I read that on the weekly news roundup a few years ago, directly from Goldman Sachs board notes. That is the type of company this is. I would not use Apple for anything, and I certainly would not use this. You are simply enriching Goldman Sachs. Of course, MasterCard's the one that's literally is experimenting with putting payment chips in people's hands. Very interesting. So, of course, you just need your debit card, and then you can do your Apple Buy Now, Pay Later stuff. There you go. Well, on to some Microsoft news. Microsoft auto patches. Once again, like lightning has struck twice here. Microsoft is doing something that seems to actually make sense. Now you'd be like, oh, it's auto updating itself. There's actually method to the madness here, and it's very easy. This is first and foremost, this is for IT professionals, not for your basic consumers. It is for an enterprise situation, but what you do is you set this up in tiers where you set a group of computers as the canary branch, and then another group of computers as the first test run, and then you do another group of computers as your final deployment, and you could have a few extra one. So they call these testing rings. There's actually 4 of them. I described 3, but there's 4 of them. So the first auto patch goes through, and then these are all delayed. Each auto patch is delayed like, a week or however you want it to do. And then you can say, well, this computer is basically a duplicate of the workstations for the common employees. This computer is a workstation duplicate for our data shares, and etc. So the first testing ring goes out, and it just updates to just those 4 computers, for example. And then the IT guy, when he has a spare moment, can look over everything, make sure nothing is there. As long as everything works right, he can push that out to the next ring. But if there's a problem, he can stop and delay the auto patch. This way, you can push out the updates into your enterprise without blocking out time on Patch Tuesday to make sure everything's working, and also without seriously impacting everything else. So if there is some catastrophic issue on the canary machine, don't push that update out to the whole employee test. There are a few issues with it down here, but really, this is actually a neat approach for enterprises who are still using Microsoft. Oh, Lord. Oh, well. Can't blame them too much. Well, then Microsoft apparently is trying to kill hard drives. Now, not by killing the hard drive in your computer. They're basically pushing SSDs for requirements for certain features. So right now, in the next update, they're pushing SSDs as a requirement for... there's a requirement for 2 specific features. I think one of them was... Windows subset for Linux, and I forget what the second one was. But the idea is that if they're get away with this, of course, this is going to start pushing on more and more and more approaches. And let's see if I wish I could find the 2 things. But anyway, there were 2 specific items that they said you had to have the SSD in order to use. And so, yeah, Microsoft is slowly trying to push people into using SSDs instead. Of course, I'm looking at this going, man, I haven't seen a computer in a store in a long time that actually doesn't have an SSD. I don't know. But that's that. And on to our feature story. So Axon, this is the company behind Tazer. So of course, Tazer is the big, Axon is the company. They restructured themselves a couple years ago to be called Axon, basically providing oftentimes a lot of police contract things. So the Axon body cameras, which you'll see in all the police videos and stuff. Of course, they make the Tasers. They do a few other things out there as well. Well, they have an ethics board that pretty much every one of them has resigned. I think like 1 or 2 people stayed on. But what they wanted to do is send armed drones. Now, they're Taser armed. They're not like, AK-47 armed drones, but they are Taser armed drones to surveil schools. Shall we open the can of worms? Let's open the can of worms. Okay. The idea here, of course, is, there's all these shooters. Let's get all these guns out of the schools. No. You know that 100% of the school shootings have happened in gun-free zones? And by the way, not every school is a gun-free zone. There are several schools around this country that have trained and armed staff and faculty, and you don't know who's carrying and who's not. They don't exactly advertise it. It's not just the dude at the front door. Okay, you could be going down the halls and some shop teacher's going to pop out with 3 fingers and go, boom, pop you off. All right? So don't mess with these schools. They don't have problems. So they're like, hey, you know, it's safer. And legit, it's safer to send an armed bot with a taser after a school shooter than to, you know, hang out outside the school for 2 hours while the guy goes crazy in there. That's for sure. But are we really ready for drones to be armed with tasers running around? This is bad. However, I hope he doesn't mind saying this, but I have a friend who's actually working on a future dystopian movie book where BLM is basically a thuggery arm of the government, and all of their defund the police stuff work to the point where the government gets rid of the police and is literally now using drones to do the policing around the country. And this is exactly in his book. Which is kind of funny, which is not out yet. It's not out yet, and if you guys want to know about it, I'll let you know when it's ready to come out. But I'm beta testing or beta reading it right now. So basically, they have 9 of the 12 member ethics boards appointed to advise this technology have resigned, citing the company's plan to install taser-equipped drones and pervasive surveillance at schools. FYI, I didn't include in the listing here. I probably should have in the privacy section, but Clearview AI is now trying to work with contracts with schools. So let's go ahead and just get all of the school data in. So they've grown into, you know, this big group, whatever. So the ethics board was established a few years ago. It became clear that machine learning was a valuable tool, but also one that could be easily or be poorly built, applied abusively, or some combination of the two. The board, a collection of experts and academics and industry professionals, would provide tempering perspective on the tech, suggests accountability measures. Had a good start. Each member of the board joined with belief they could influence the direction of the company in ways that would help mitigate the harms that policing technologies can sow and better capture the benefits. For a time, we saw the influence play out in some of Axon's decisions, from not equipping all of its products with facial recognition capabilities to withdrawing a new software tool to collect data from social media websites to promoting desperately needed legislation to bring the use of license plate readers under control. We observed tangible evidence for the difference we're making. But apparently the issue here is that may have gone too far, no matter how much and what type of tech should be brought in. Axon intends to develop taser-equipped drones, pre-position them in potential targets for mass and school bangy bangs, and encircle those targets in surveillance cameras with real-time streaming capabilities. Board has been introduced to and deliberated about the taser drones as something to be piloted with strict controls because there are so many questions to be answered about this type of equipment. Bottom line is Tazer ended up abandoning this project because of bad optics. We definitely don't need this. It then raises questions. What do we do? Well, the best approach is, you know, if somebody knows that a good percentage of the staff is going to be trained and armed, they're probably not going to go in the school. Just a thought. Just a thought. You know, outside of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I haven't seen a whole lot of shooters try and shoot up a police station. All right. So it's kind of frightening. But this is the direction our world's going to go. So is this better than armed people in schools? Because I got news for you. You're not going to get all the guns off the streets, nor should we. We do have the Second Amendment rights in America, and something some people on certain political sides do not want to tell you, way more lives are saved with guns than are taken. The mere presence of one will inhibit a violent crime. If a guy comes out and starts doing weird stuff and the homeowner comes out with a bangy bang, the criminal generally leaves because he can voluntarily leave or be dragged out by the paddy wagon. So those are just some interesting thoughts, but let me know what you think about taser-armed drones in schools. Do you feel comfortable with taser-armed drones in schools with your children? I think that's pretty much a hard no, but let me know what you guys think. Well, you can help support the channel with affiliates. Today we are highlighting Pro Writing Aid. This is a writing tool similar to Grammarly, except they have always been a privacy-first company. They have not been interested in collecting and harvesting and analyzing the things that you are typing and feeding into it. With my affiliate link there, tlm.li/PWA, you can save 20% off a yearly or a lifetime subscription with that coupon code, and that will also help support the channel. So have a look at Pro Writing Aid today, and there is also some free tools you can take advantage of on their website to see if it will work for you. Well, guys, let's head to Sillyville. First up in Sillyville, Wired is starting to paywall their articles now. All right, Wired no longer gets to be showed on the weekly news roundup. Read the story for free with this or sign in or create an account. No, at wired.com. Ha 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 ha. Let's do that. Anyway, there we go. Oh, we've sent it. Oh, look at that. They let me, okay, let's see. You read last comment, whatever. Okay, so basically what this article is about is the saxophonist tricked the KGB by encrypting secrets into music. So there you go. Any musicians out there, you guys are possibly going to get in there, especially when we have this crazy dystopian future where any form of entertainment will be banned, kind of like 2112, the song by Rush. There's a whole history behind that song, if you didn't know it. It's this dystopian future where music is banned. Guy finds a guitar, starts playing it. Wow, what's this amazing stuff? Yeah, basically a saxophonist tricked the KGB by encrypting secret messages in music. Very nice. Not much more we can say about that. I just thought it was fun. From the Not the Bee, NASA rover on Mars needs a friend. And so there's this pet rock that it has. This rock fell on into the inner wheel of the Mars Land Rover, and it has been there for a long time. I think they said like 3 months or so. So it got stuck in one of the wheels in February, and it's still there. It's not fallen out. It's just kind of rolling around inside the rover's wheels. And so they're basically now calling it the pet rock of the rover because it's in every picture. The pet rock just keeps on showing up in every picture. There you have it, guys. We definitely need some of that. Texas is looking to identify this unidentified object that was hanging out outside of a zoo in Amarillo. One time, guys, this is a true story. I was driving down through Amarillo. I was literally drinking amaretto coffee, and I almost ran over an armadillo. So I was almost ran over an armadillo outside Amarillo drinking amaretto. And so it's crazy. But apparently in this zoo, this thing showed up in the security. Is it a chupacabra, or is it a dude in a mask, or is it a ghost, an alien? Nobody knows what in the world this thing is. It was reported on the security cameras 2 weeks ago, and they're like, what is this thing? Police are saying, and they're saying there's no crime committed here. No marks of vandalism, no attempt to get in. We would just like to know what the hell is outside of our zoo. I mean, it looks like it should be something that should be inside the zoo, not outside the zoo. But if you happen to know what this unidentified object is outside of Amarillo, please let them know because the UAO needs to be identified. And on to our final story. In an M&M factory in central PA, my home area. This is just south of Hershey here. 2 people got stuck in a tank of chocolate in an M&M factory. Maybe they're just trying to become the M&M characters disembodied, right? I was thinking about, is this the kind of like the candy version of the Toxic Avenger? They fall into the chocolate tank for M&M production, and they come out, becoming superheroes based on M&Ms, I guess. I don't know. But here's a couple photos of it. So there you go. There's a dove plant. Apparently it was one of the plants to do M&Ms. So M&M and Mars. So rescue mission went underway at Elizabethtown, where 2 people fell into the tank of chocolate and were unable to get out. Lancaster County Dispatch said 2 people fell in the tank around 1:51 p.m. in the Mars facility downtown, 200 block of Brown Street. The people in the tank were not hurt, but they cannot get out. At least they won't starve to death, right? Chocolate is believed to be about waist high, according to dispatch. Firefighters are still at the scene at 2:30. Oh, that's just glorious. By the way, if you ever get a chance to go to Hershey, Pennsylvania, it's kind of fun. They actually pump a chocolate scent through the town, and the street lights are Hershey Kisses. But of course, if you go to Roswell, New Mexico, the street lights are aliens. So whatever one you happen to want the most. Well, if you'd like to help support the channel, we do have a Subscribe Star page, subscribestar.com/SwitchedToLinux. You can join us over there and get access to our Thursday night live streams. With that, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.